Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for coming to watch. This guy got an update on a massive severe weather event that could take place across portions of the Midwest and the Dixie Alley, which will be associated with a massive storm system that will be moving through the central and eastern United States, bringing both severe thunderstorms and snow on the way. I've got all the details coming right up. All right, so thank you all for joining me here on this Friday evening. We've got a lot to talk about in this video. We're going to be talking about the impacts and the latest information on that upcoming storm system, as well as record challenging warmth that we are expecting to stay with us for a while. And I think that this really could bring some spring-like temperatures up to areas of the eastern United States. All right, so starting out here, take a look at your current radar. Got nothing much, but you do have the remnants of that storm system that just moved in the eastern United States. It wasn't anything too bad. You probably just felt some rainfall or some snowfall, depending on where you are, if you were in the way of that storm system. But what you've got is you've got a little bit of snow and rain back here into the interior Northeast and off towards the lower Midwest. You've got some snow moving through like the Chicago area and northern Indiana. But it's really nothing that's too crazy. A little bit of rainfall still on the coastline here of New England, but there's nothing much else to really talk. There's nothing else that you really need to talk about here because everybody else is dry just looking at the current radar. So we move over here to your alerts. Once again, nothing much going on up here in the northwest. In your like goldish brown shade, you have high wind watches. This is in the brown shade. This is where you have high wind watches. Gold shade, you have high wind warnings, and then in this blue shade, this is where you've got winter storm watches. There's a big winter storm that will be coming in a few days, which we may have to talk about in a future update. But I don't think that we're going to see any major impacts, but there will be a big storm moving in just a few days, so we definitely will at least consider talking about that, but not in today's video. So we're going to move on here to the GFS model. We're going to be comparing the GFS and the European model like we kind of have been, not yesterday because I did like what the European model was showing a little bit better, but we're going to go back to comparing the GFS and the European model for this crazy upcoming storm system where there's a lot of hype going around, and I don't think that this storm is actually going to be as bad as some people are saying. And even though the SPC issued a very rare day 6 and day 7 double slight risk, I just don't know. I just don't think this storm's going to be as bad as it could be or it could have been based off of what everyone's talking about. So let's get this rolling here. Let's get this into motion. So this is going to be Tuesday of next week. That high pressure the GFS was showing no longer is there. All right, so that's going to actually result in this low moving further south. So here's that this northern piece of energy. We know that this is going to happen. All right, this is that storm that's moving out. This is that storm that's causing those winter storm watches to be up. That is actually the same storm as what we're talking about in the eastern United States, just not going to be as intense back there. But that's basically the same thing. That's where we're getting this energy coming from. All right, so this is this trough that's dipping the jet stream, and then there's some more energy and just another trough that's coming through. All right, so here we go. You got a 991 millibar low. That's pretty far north, but this is that main energy, and you can see you've got a pretty powerful cold front that's going to be pushing this off to the east. So here you get a 990 millibar low. This is that first round of storms that you get. You get a lot of snow on the north side of this, way up into Canada, but you do get some snow in the upper Midwest. Everybody in the Northeast, and towards the Ohio Valley, just the Great Lakes region, are staying as rain with a 990 millibar low moving through. It looks like a big system, but you can really tell that most of the precipitation is actually up into Canada. But watch this just explodes. This really develops quickly, and you get a 986 millibar low pretty quickly, and this is by Wednesday. So this is 7 a.m. Wednesday, and this would actually, at this point, this would be your day 2 severe risk. So what you get is you get this line of storms that would really, in this case, the GFS wants this to form a little bit later. The GFS wants this more to be a Wednesday kind of situation where we get a line of storms that races across like the Ohio Valley down towards the Dixie Alley, and we put this into motion here. This is getting to about 1 p.m. Wednesday, and you've got high pressure and a nasty dry line that's pushing this off to the east. But you got snow way up into Canada. But What we see here is we see the yellows. Those are the stronger storms. All right, that's when you see yellows and oranges on the GFS. Those are strong to severe storms. So we see that here. This is really all the way up from Ohio down to northern Mississippi. So this is showing kind of the GFS is showing kind of a line of storms. Now, if let's say that if we were to get storms to fire earlier in the morning, I think that we would see probably discrete supercells in the early afternoon. But then once we get to about like dinner time, like the evening time frame, this is when I think we would see a damaged wind gust line form, a squall line. But what you get is you get very strong winds pulling a lot of moisture and energy from the Gulf and the Atlantic ocean there, and then you've got a lot of snow on the backside because this cold front is really pushing this storm system out to the east, which is actually slowing down. So that gives time and just room for this backside rainfall to turn over to snow. And what we'll see is I think we'll see upper elevation snowfall for the mountains like the Appalachian Mountains, all the way up towards upstate New York, like towards the Great Lakes, Lake Erie. And then you can also see Western PA getting in on some of that snow action. But that's the latest GFS model, and then you get that high pressure that really stabilizes this area before this record challenging warmth that really sits in. Um, but I mean, it's really looking like the severe threat will be farther to the east on the latest GFS. And remember, we thought initially that that maybe the highest severe threat would be off to the west towards the Midwest down to like the southern plains. Like, I mean, not exactly the southern plains, but you get what I mean. Extreme northeastern Texas up towards Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, this general area. But I think that if the latest GFS is correct here, which we'll look at the European model, I think that we may see a shift further east with that severe threat. And I just don't. I'm not seeing anything too crazy as of right now. And then we'll go back to yesterday's 18Z GFS. Look how far back this cold front is. This storm hasn't even really developed completely. But you get that line of storms just which would be these would be discrete supercells that would be able to form. I would say by early Wednesday, and this is much farther to the west. So you see the difference there. That's going to be huge for the storm, and we're going to get into the details with that soon. So let's take a look now at the European model. What does the Euro show? Well, you get that low that moves out, and then here's that new 988 millibar low. All right, you see the same thing, but look at this. This is so weird. You don't get anything until late. I mean, this is already, what is this? This is like very early morning hours of Wednesday here. This is like middle. This is like the wee morning hours of Wednesday. You got a 986 millibar low that's pushing up towards the Great Lakes, and you've got a lot of snow on the backside here that's moving into portions of the upper Midwest. You've got thunderstorms that are actually starting to form here across portions of southeastern Wisconsin, southern Michigan, and really all of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. It's all scattered around here, but you don't really see anything major until we get to right about Wednesday, like Wednesday morning. All right, you're waking up Wednesday morning to a line of storms that's racing across the Dixie Alley and the Ohio River Valley. All right, I think that at this point this is running out of time. You notice how it's not even formed at all back here. All right, but then it goes right to this big line of storms. I think that what you would get with this, you'd get a brief, like an hour or two of a tornado threat, and this would just all these storms would converge into this one line, this one squall line. I think that's what you would see, and you wouldn't get that big of a tornado threat with this. But I mean, or I should say you wouldn't get that long of a tornado threat, but there would be a chance for some spinning supercells. And what I'm meaning here is you see how the convection would be very, very abrupt because you go from almost nothing to some massive storms that are racing across this area. I mean, that means that you could definitely have some intense convection, which is a sign for some supercells to fire off this area. And if you get supercells, you get rotating thunderstorms and tornado threat. All right, but then at this point, this is definitely a damaging squall line here. This is a deepening 973 millibar low. This is stronger than the GFS is showing as of right now. The heaviest precipitation is north of the United States, but the UP of Michigan, guys, right where that low pressure center is going to be moving through. I mean, you could definitely feel some big impacts as far as wintry impacts going. We'll talk about snowfall probably later this weekend. But I mean, you've got a lot of snow. It's just a lot of frozen precipitation up here. All right, and then you've got those storms that are still racing across this area, and you may still have a threat for storms as far east as like the Smoky Mountains, all right, Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina here, Tennessee, all the way up to really, I would say Virginia. Farther north, you're not going to see storms. You're probably just going to deal with rain before this completely falls apart with storms, but you definitely get just a lot of torrential rainfall with a 971 millibar low. This is a monster storm system. But the reason why we're not seeing such a big, like, crazy outbreak, which I don't even think we're going to see an outbreak, but if we were to have this storm get very strong, like over the Great Plains, even farther west than that, like let's say that we had this already trying to get negatively tilted back here, I think that's when we would really get like a big, lower Midwest Ohio Valley severe threat. But we don't see that, guys, and it just takes too long for this to develop, and this becomes negatively tilted way too late for really anything big to happen. And so we'll look at the dynamics and the thermodynamics, but if you put everything together, it's really looking like the storm is going to be running out of time to really develop those prefrontal supercells. Therefore, the severe threat will definitely be lower than first anticipated. All right. So here we go. This is the latest SPC outlook. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys have seen this already, but this is just shifted one day ahead of us since yesterday. So now this is for Tuesday, and we still have that slight risk. It's been shifted just slightly to the north and east. So this is going out for areas of extreme southwestern Michigan, all the way down through Illinois, western Indiana, through southeastern Missouri, through southwestern Kentucky, and then this goes through northern Arkansas, and then southeastern Oklahoma. All right, but you've still got some big time cities in there. Not really a different area, but you got a little bit bigger chunk here of northwestern Tennessee. But you've got Chicago, Illinois, Indianapolis, Indiana, St. Louis, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Aurora, Illinois. That comes out to a total population of 22.7 million people. That is crazy, but they are putting out a slight risk this early, and it's for a big area. So I think that we will most likely, if let's say the severe threat stays kind of how it is right now, I think we'll get up to enhanced with this. I don't want you guys to go tell everybody that I'm expecting an enhanced risk. I'm just saying that personally, if I had to give you a bet right now, I would probably assume that we would get up to an enhanced risk, and maybe not, maybe just a slight risk, but I really don't see any great chance that we would get up to a moderate risk, but it's possible still. It's just the chances are lowering and just dropping very dramatically. But we'll switch this to the next day. This is day 6. This is your Wednesday here. All right, and you've got a severe threat. Really, this has been focused. This really basically what happened here is this shrunk and this went a little bit further to the south. So this is just focusing in on the Dixie Alley, really all the way up from central Kentucky all the way down through northern Mississippi, Alabama. This also has a big population of just over 17 million people. You got Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, Lexington, Kentucky. You got Birmingham, Alabama, and Montgomery, Alabama. All right. So there are some big cities out here: Chattanooga, Tennessee, Bowling Green, Kentucky. So there are definitely some cities that will be impacted pretty directly by these storms. We just gotta know like kind of where exactly the strongest storms will hit, how strong the storms will be, and then once we get into the inside of the day 3 kind of outlook, then we'll be able to tell what kind of impacts we'll see. Either will it be tornadoes, damaging wind gusts, or maybe even large hail. We don't know yet. All right, but we're gonna try and figure that out, and that's when we take a look at the thermodynamics. We're going to start out here with your dew points. Actually, let's first start out with your jet stream. I want to talk about your jet stream winds first because I think it's better to start out just with our jet stream pattern. So this is your polar jet stream. This is your aka your northern jet stream, and this is your South Pacific jet stream. But what's going to happen here is pretty rare. We're actually going to see, ugh, sorry about that. We're actually going to see the two jet streams merge together with this system. This is your big trough that's coming in, and at this point it's neutrally tilted. But watch as the two jet streams they start to bump up and just kind of phase together. That's pretty interesting that we see here. But I think that this could really help you get a stronger jet stream, and this is also going to be associated with the speed of the system. They don't merge completely, and this is Wednesday. This was Wednesday morning, so this is that time frame when these storms are slowly going to start to fire across this area. And at this point, you've got a jet. This is a mid-level jet that's really ripping here of between 70 and 90 knots. All right, at this point, it'd be 90 at most, and that's really over. Um, it's really over the central United States. All right. But watch as this gets very strong. It really starts to get going here, and it's starting to get negatively tilted. At this point, this is probably like a positively tilted trough, and then we get to negative, and so we go all the way from a slightly positively tilted trough to a negatively tilted trough. When you get a negatively tilted trough, that means that the storm system that is associated with that trough is strengthening, and that's what you want here. And so I'm going to say it a lot, but really what this all comes down to is that the storm is going to take a long time to strengthen to the point where it's going to become negatively tilted. And you will need a negatively tilted trough to have the high severe threat, because you can't really have that big of you can't really have a significant severe thunderstorm event if you are dealing with a positive or neutrally tilted trough. So that's basically how we're going to be working here. At this point, this is definitely negatively tilted. Look at these jet stream winds, though. This is right over Missouri and Illinois, still an area that I wasn't looking at, both from the European model and the GFS, for any significant storms, but we still get a strong, 110 knot jet stream here. I mean, that is definitely strong enough to support some thunderstorms. And this just really gets completely amplified as these two jet streams start to merge together. And boy, I mean, you got 120, 130 knot jet stream. That is very strong, right over Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. And then even south, like into the Ohio River Valley, we're still talking about like a 90 to 100 knot jet stream winds here. I mean, that is pretty strong. And you got this massive dip in the jet stream. And then this kind of just pushes off to the east, and this is completely full-blown negatively tilted at this point. I mean, it's completely tailing down all the way, really from like Ontario all the way down to the Dixie Alley. So yeah, that's going to be your jet stream pattern. It's going to be interesting. I think that's going to change a little bit in the next few days. I don't know, how, but I think the GFS is going to start ticking towards the European model. The European model is always been a reliable model run for like medium term storms. But especially for this one, the fact that it's very hard to forecast, I think it's just better looking at the European model. And I do think the GFS is going to slowly start ticking towards the European model. All right. So now, what about your thermodynamics? All right. These are your dew points. We've talked about this in the past 3 days. All right, this is basically the humidity and just the moisture that's going to be out ahead of the storms in the warm sector. The warm sector is the warm air, basically the area of warm air that's going to be ahead of the storms that develop. And if you get enough warm air and instability and then moisture in that area in front of the storms, that's how you can get convection. Convection is basically storm development. But this is Tuesday. This is already the early morning hours of Tuesday, and you have good dew points, all right? If you're looking for severe thunderstorms, even dew points in the upper 50s can support thunderstorms, strong thunderstorms. So I'd really, if you're looking for like long tracks, severe thunderstorms, you need really mid to upper 60s, and that's only building up here into eastern Texas, Louisiana, portions of Arkansas, and Oklahoma, but you're still getting dew points rising into the 50s already by Tuesday morning up into the Midwest. So I think the thermodynamics will be there, but watch as this dry line here just gets very strong, and it's going to cut this thing off. Already you can see this this gradient here is very tight gradient between like 65-degree dew points and 36-degree dew points. So very, very tight there, but we can still definitely get a few like raises in the dew points here, and this is where your low pressure will be at this point. And this is Tuesday night, getting into very early Wednesday morning. And if you're looking for storms farther north, and it's for the area where we saw that there's increasing jet stream winds. All right, right over here. I mean, if you're getting close to the 60s here for your dew points, especially here towards Illinois, we're actually already at 60 degrees for your dew points. I think that this could definitely support some severe thunderstorms this far north. So definitely count on a possible Ohio Valley and just lower Midwest severe threat possible with this. But the most moisture will definitely be down here, really by the Dixie Alley for onshore areas, and then if you're by the coastline, the Gulf Coast here, you'll obviously be very moist, all right, with dew points getting well above 60 degrees, all right? But watch as we take this out to Wednesday. This is early Wednesday morning, and this dry line, guys, is going to kill the chances for storms. I have been talking about this for the past 2 days. This dry line is what's potentially saving us from having a bigger severe weather event. And you notice how it's so hard to forecast? I've said that a lot as well. It's because there's so many moving different parts that you got to cover, and there's so many different things that can contribute to whether or not you see a big storm or not, right? But this, when you get a dry line, you're looking for basically a clear picture of where that cold front is between warm, moist air, which are these higher dew points, and very dry, cold air, which are these like brown shades here. All right, so notice this is when the European model is showing that line of storms to fire across this area. This is right between Wednesday, like wee morning hours, to Wednesday morning. You saw how we went from no storms to a lot of storms. Well, that's actually what we see here, because you're getting dew points that are getting pretty high because the storm is kind of the dry line is shifting these dew points farther to the east. So at this point, you actually will have a threat for dew points getting up to the 60s, to as far north as southern Ohio. But this would definitely bring dew points up into the 60s, potentially all the way up to Kentucky here, and this would definitely increase the chances for a severe threat. But with this dry line coming in, I think that you may actually see it turn over from strong to severe storms to actually snow, mostly for those upper elevations. It's possible. All right, but I just think with the setup that we're going to see, but look how just this dry line just pushes the really it pushes all the warm air completely off to the eastern seaboard. I mean, this is when it's just going to get very strong, and it's going to really just push it all out to the eastern United States. And you'll still have dew points getting in the 50s all the way up towards Maine here, and New England. But the only dew points that are left in the 60s are way down here to Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. And at this point, the severe storms won't even really be able to fire across this area, and the storm will be too far north for any storms like to be down here. So, yeah, that's it on the European model, and it really crushes the chance for severe storms to be ongoing for a few hours, or sorry, for a few days. Which the reason I said a few hours is because I can't believe that we have we have 2 days that are highlighted for a slight risk. That's gonna change. I really do think that if I were the storm prediction or the SPC, I would definitely take down at least that day 7, or day 7 slight risk, day 6 slight risk, because I don't think that I think actually personally I don't know, because the GFS and the European models still haven't taken sides completely yet, but I would take down the first day actually, because you notice how it takes a long time for those storms to finally start forming, and so that's just gonna kind of shift the severe storm like time frame, like 12 hours later. But let's take a look here at your 700 millibar height. All right, so we actually will look for changing heights here, which would increase the tornado threat, because when you get changing heights, you get rotation with storms, and you get wind shear. All right, and you need wind shear for, tornadic action. Oh, and so this is your lower level jet here that we're taking a look at. This is your 700 millibar height wind speeds here. So let's get this going. And I mean, you can see that it's already getting very strong over Texas. We're already seeing winds getting up to about 60 knots right over Texas. And then they get very strong in this highlighted area that the SPC has. So, um, you want this number to get high, and you want this number to be close enough to the same strength as the 500 millibar jet stream winds, in order to have the greatest chance of changing heights. But like, um, just how much they're going to be changing. But you can definitely see that there will be a chance for that, and this is basically when your cold front is taking this storm off to the east. But I mean, I think there's a chance here, and this shows a higher tornado threat pretty far north, and this would actually increase the tornado threat if we saw changing heights. Definitely up here towards the lower Midwest. And I think that may be the area that we're watching for the high severe chance, but I think it's going to be the lower Midwest or the Ohio Valley. Those are the two areas that we're watching, and just got to find out. All right. So enough with that storm system. We got very nice weather coming behind it. Just got to get through this last storm, and then you're going to be good. This is your 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, valid for February 29th through March 4th, your first few days of March. We're expecting above average temperatures, well above average actually. We're getting 80 to 90%. My goodness. So we will be in the 50s and 60s for some areas, and some other areas 70s and 80s. So very balmy for some areas. I know more weather. He's a great forecaster. He lives in St. Louis. He actually made a report that showed that he was in the 70s. All right, so very warm already, but it's just going to continue to get warmer. And even on the eastern seaboard, even up to the northeast, if you're normally in like the 30s and 40s, you'll probably be up to the 50s and 60s with this amount of warmth. And yeah, just the entire central and eastern United States expecting well above average temperatures. West Coast staying below average. I mean, I don't usually cover Alaska, but look at Alaska here, guys. We're getting to like, what is that, 90 to 100% chance of below average temperatures. So it's very cold out there in Alaska. And then your 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, even farther, we're getting March 2nd to March 8th. And we just have these higher temperatures shifting over to the northeast. So now the northeast getting in on a 80 to 90% chance of above average temperatures. So add 5 degrees to that total, and so I said like 50 to 60 degrees, maybe 55 to 65 degrees. So I mean, I'm basically taking what I'm expecting, and I live in Western Long Island, but you get what I mean here. We're just going to see a slight shift in the direction or just the location of these higher temperatures, and then the West Coast will stay below average, and same thing for Alaska. All right, so I just want to mention one channel, Broderick Howard. He does literally like amazing forecasts, and he recently posted that tornado forecast. You should guys please check out his channel. Consider subscribing. He just hit 1,000 subscribers today. I'm so happy for him. So I want to give him a shout out. He does amazing like documentaries. He does really good backyard storm chases. He films storms from his backyard. He lives in Texas, so he gets some pretty good storms. All right, but go check him out. He's awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And he does very good weather shorts. He actually does some humorous weather shorts as well. So go check out those as well. And yeah, that's gonna be pretty much it. All right, so that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much you can watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned. I got more updates on the wild. I'll continue to provide the latest information on what the models are showing for the storm system. Don't be scared, be prepared, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So consider subscribing to the channel, subscribe to Project, and I'll see you guys later.